Hello there. Welcome to Cool Talk, and we are on President number 20, James Garfield. Now let's get a better look at him right over here. That is James Garfield, President number 20. James Garfield is a prime example of how the poorest person can rise and become president. Garfield was born very poor. His father died when he was very, very young. His mother remarried, but then she left her husband for some reason, got divorced, and that was a scandal. And Garfield, as a little boy, kids would make fun of him because he had no dad and because of the scandal and so forth. So he would read a lot. Now, his mother was very religious and she would take him to church, and he would go to church as a young man to please his mother. But one day he had a religious awakening. He was born again, baptized in the Chagrin River, which at that time was freezing. He fought in the Civil War. And after the war, he favored punishing the South, and he felt that Lincoln was being a little bit too slow on the matter. Later on, he would gain a lot of respect for Lincoln, as many others did after Lincoln's death. He supported suffrage, meaning black people should be able to vote, even though he admitted that the thought of the black man at a political equality with white filled him with repugnance. Well, those are strong words to say. Strangely, though, as president, he appointed a lot of black leaders into prominent positions. So he did do that. Now, he proposed, he said that the reason African Americans were not progressing is because of lack of education. A lot of them were illiterate, couldn't read. He proposed that the federal government pay for education to educate African Americans, like public schools for black people. And by that point, after the Civil War, Lincoln's assassination, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses S. Grant, Hayes, and now Garfield, people are a little bit, unfortunately, tired of fighting for the black person, or the black man in this case. Women wouldn't get the vote for a long, long time, but they were tired of all this. They didn't give them the funds to do this. Great Britain, very imperialistic Great Britain, was sending its tentacles out to South America, and Garfield feared that Great Britain would influence the backyard, so to say. So he proposed having what they call the Pan-American Treaty, make some trade routes, trade agreements. They were going to have a meeting. I think it was like 9 Latin American countries would join in. They would all join. They would all sign up for this Pan-American Treaty. Garfield also talked about strengthening the Navy. Unfortunately, July 2nd, 1881, just a few months after becoming president, President Garfield was at a railroad station, and a man named Charles Guiteau, I hope I pronounced that correctly, probably not, shot Garfield in the back. Why did he do this? Well, he went to some administration officials earlier to get a job, didn't get the job, he was angry, and there were other reasons. Some say the man had syphilis and had mental issues, but point being is he shot Garfield in the back. Now there was one bullet in his arm, not too damaging, but another bullet pierced his back. It went in there and it actually lodged in there. Garfield was moved, and sadly, Garfield could have lived with that bullet lodged into his back. He would have been okay. So what killed Garfield? It wasn't the bullet. It was the doctors. Doctors were probing with their fingers without gloves. They were using unsanitary instruments. And they basically filled him with infections. He got racked with fever. He's lived for a couple of months. They made him eat oatmeal. He hated oatmeal, but he ate it anyway. And then around September or so, he died. He passed away. They were not able to remove the bullet, by the way. But at one point, he was very, very sick. They actually went in there to remove pus, a sac or something like that. And they said, well, let's just try to get the bullet out. And they probed further. Even Alexander Graham Bell, the man who invented the telephone, went with a metal detector to see if they could locate that bullet. Anyway, Garfield passed away. He was president for about 200 days, less than a year. So we're left with what could have been. We don't know. That Pan-American Treaty never went through. The new president, our next 21st president, Chester Arthur, canceled that meeting. A lot of leaders, of course, were going to go. They had backed off, and now the meeting was canceled, and it never happened. So basically, Garfield had a very, very short administration. Would have been better if he had not won election to begin with, I guess. But A self-made man, a man to admire, at least in that regard. And that's all I have to say about James Garfield. In the meantime, send me your comments, or better yet, subscribe to Cool Talk. This is John Franquez.